Have you ever looked at your feet and wondered if they were trying to tell you something about your health long before the rest of your body noticed? Most people don't think much about their feet unless there is pain, swelling, or an obvious injury. But for many older adults, the feet quietly carry early warning signs of deeper conditions, including diabetes. And those signs are often missed because they seem small, harmless, or simply part of aging. Today, I want to invite you to stay with me for a while, to listen closely, and to reflect on your own body, or perhaps the body of someone you love. If anything in this conversation feels familiar, I encourage you to share your thoughts in the comments and connect with others who may be going through the same thing, because awareness, even more than medicine, is often what protects us first. This topic matters deeply, especially for older adults, because the earlier these signs are noticed, the more we can prevent serious complications that affect mobility, independence, and overall quality of life. Let's begin gently by understanding something very simple but powerful. Diabetes does not always arrive with loud symptoms. In many cases, it begins quietly, affecting the smallest blood vessels and nerves in the body, and the feet are often one of the first places where those changes become visible. The feet are far from the heart, and they rely on healthy circulation and nerve function, both of which can be disrupted by high blood sugar over time. That is why the feet can become a kind of early messenger, showing changes that might otherwise go unnoticed. One of the first things people sometimes experience is a subtle numbness, a feeling that the feet are less sensitive than they used to be. At first, it may seem like nothing more than fatigue or a result of sitting too long. But over time, that numbness can deepen, making it harder to feel the ground properly when walking. I once spoke with an elderly man who told me he thought his slippers had become softer because he could no longer feel the floor beneath them. It was not the slippers that had changed, but his nerves. That quiet loss of sensation is often one of the earliest signs of diabetic neuropathy, where the nerves are gradually damaged by prolonged high blood sugar. Alongside numbness, some people experience the opposite sensation, a kind of burning or tingling that becomes more noticeable at night. It can feel like pins and needles, or like a gentle but persistent heat that makes it difficult to sleep. Many older adults assume this is just poor circulation or part of getting older, but in reality it can be a signal that the nerves are under stress. One woman I remember described it as if her feet were whispering discomfort to her every evening, not loud enough to alarm her, but consistent enough that it should have been taken more seriously. Another sign that often goes unnoticed is dry, cracked skin on the feet. As we age, the skin naturally becomes drier, but in diabetes, this dryness can become more severe because the nerves that control moisture production are affected. When the skin becomes too dry, it can crack, and those cracks can become entry points for infection. It may seem like a small cosmetic issue at first, something to be treated with lotion, but if left unaddressed, it can lead to complications that are much more serious. There are also changes in the color of the skin that deserve attention. Feet that appear unusually pale, bluish, or even slightly reddish can be showing signs of poor blood flow. Circulation is essential for healing and for maintaining healthy tissue, and when it is compromised, even minor injuries can take much longer to heal. I recall a patient who noticed that one of his feet looked slightly darker than the other. He thought it was just lighting, or perhaps a bruise he didn't remember getting, but it turned out to be a circulation issue related to undiagnosed diabetes. Sometimes, small wounds or sores appear on the feet and take longer than expected to heal. This is one of the more serious warning signs because it reflects both poor circulation and a reduced ability of the body to fight infection. A tiny cut from walking barefoot or a blister from a new pair of shoes can become a persistent sore that does not improve over weeks. For many older adults, this is the moment when they finally seek medical attention, but by then, the condition may already be advanced. There is also a subtle change that can happen in the shape of the feet or toes. Over time, nerve damage can weaken the muscles, leading to deformities such as curled toes or changes in how weight is distributed when standing or walking. These changes increase the risk of pressure points, which can then lead to ulcers. It is not something that happens overnight, but rather a gradual shift that may go unnoticed unless someone is paying close attention. Another quiet signal is a loss of hair on the toes and feet. While it may not seem significant, hair growth depends on good circulation. When blood flow is reduced, hair follicles may stop producing hair. For some, this is one of the earliest visible signs that something is affecting the small blood vessels. Cold feet can also be a sign, especially when they remain cold even in warm environments. While many older adults naturally feel colder than they used to, persistently cold feet can indicate that blood is not reaching the extremities effectively. One elderly woman once told me she wore socks even during the hottest days, not because she preferred to, but because her feet always felt uncomfortably cold. There are also changes in the nails that can provide clues. Nails may become thicker, more brittle, or discolored. While fungal infections are common and can cause similar changes, people with diabetes are more susceptible to such infections, and what appears to be a simple nail issue may actually reflect a deeper vulnerability in the body's defenses. Finally, there is the simple but often overlooked sign of swelling. Feet that appear puffier than usual, especially if the swelling is persistent, can indicate problems with circulation or fluid balance. It may be subtle at first, something noticed only when shoes feel tighter than usual, but it is worth paying attention to. When we look at these signs together, a pattern begins to emerge, not one of sudden illness, but of gradual change. That is what makes diabetes particularly challenging, especially for older adults. It does not always announce itself clearly. Instead, it whispers, and those whispers are often heard in the feet. I want to share a story that brings many of these signs together. There was a retired teacher who lived a quiet life, enjoying her garden and her grandchildren. She began to notice that her feet felt different, slightly numb, occasionally tingling, and her skin seemed drier than before. She dismissed these changes as part of aging. Months passed, and a small blister appeared on her heel after wearing new shoes. It did not heal, as expected. By the time she sought help, the wound had become infected, and further examination revealed that she had been living with undiagnosed diabetes for quite some time. What stayed with me about her story was not just the medical aspect, but her reflection afterward. She said she wished she had listened sooner to the quiet signals her body was giving her. This brings us to an important turning point in our conversation. The most surprising and perhaps most important truth is that many of the serious complications of diabetes, including infections and even amputations, often begin with small preventable issues in the feet. It is not the severity of the first symptom that determines the outcome, but the attention given to it. A tiny crack, a slight numbness, a small change in color, these are not dramatic, but they are meaningful. Ignoring them allows the condition to progress silently, while noticing them creates an opportunity to act early and protect one's health. There is also something else that is not often talked about, and that is the emotional impact. For many older adults, foot problems can lead to reduced mobility, and reduced mobility can lead to isolation. When walking becomes uncomfortable or uncertain, people may choose to stay home more often, gradually withdrawing from activities they once enjoyed. This is why early awareness is not just about physical health, but also about preserving independence and connection. As we come toward the end of this conversation, I want to bring everything together in a calm and reassuring way. The feet can serve as an early warning system, offering clues about what is happening inside the body. Numbness, tingling, dryness, changes in color, slow healing wounds, changes in shape, loss of hair, coldness, nail changes, and swelling are not just isolated issues. They can be signals that deserve attention, especially when they appear together or persist over time. Not every change means diabetes, but every persistent change is worth understanding. There is hope in this because awareness leads to action, and action can prevent complications. Simple habits such as checking the feet regularly, keeping the skin moisturized, wearing comfortable shoes, and seeking medical advice when something does not seem right can make a significant difference. These are small steps, but they carry great weight over time. If you have been listening and something feels familiar, I encourage you not to ignore that feeling. Speak with a healthcare professional, share what you have noticed, and take that step toward clarity. And if you are listening on behalf of someone you love, perhaps a parent or a grandparent, this knowledge can help you support them in a gentle and caring way. If this conversation has been helpful to you, consider sharing it with others who might benefit from it. You can also leave a comment to share your thoughts or experiences because your story may help someone else recognize their own. And if you would like to continue learning about simple ways to protect your health as you age, you are welcome to stay connected by subscribing. Take care of your feet, not just because they carry you through the day, but because sometimes they are the first to tell you when something deeper needs your attention.